In November 2018, under the cover of darkness, a 26-year-old American named John Allen Chow slipped past the Indian Coast Guard. He paddled a small kayak toward the densely forested shore of North Sentinel Island. Chow was a missionary, driven by a diary entry in which he wondered if this isolated island was Satan's last stronghold. He brought fish, a football, and a Bible to convert the inhabitants. Upon arriving on the beach, he was struck by an arrow and killed. In the aftermath, sensational headlines framed the North Sentinelese as bloodthirsty, uncontacted people trapped in the Stone Age, lashing out at a modern world they couldn't comprehend. But looking closely at their history reveals a different story. They don't appear to be shooting at outsiders because of a lack of intelligence or curiosity. The tribe's reaction is a learned border policy, shaped by a traumatic encounter over a century ago. In 1880, a British naval officer named Maurice Vidal Portman landed on North Sentinel Island with a specific goal: establish contact and civilize the natives. Unable to communicate with them, Portman and his men captured 6 Sentinelese people, an elderly couple and 4 children, and transported them off the island to the colonial capital of Port Blair. This diagram shows what happens when an isolated immune system meets a foreign pathogen. For tens of thousands of years, the Sentinelese had been cut off from the rest of the world. They lacked antibodies against common outside diseases. Within days of arriving in Port Blair, the elderly couple grew sick and died. Portman quickly returned the 4 surviving children to the island, handing them a few gifts. But those children were now carrying foreign bacteria and viruses back to an unprotected population. It is highly probable this sparked a deadly epidemic across the island. When the merchant ship Primrose ran aground on their reef in 1981, the Sentinelese found a way to upgrade their technology. They stripped the wreck, scavenging the metal to forge iron tips for their arrows. These interactions left the tribe with 2 clear takeaways. Outsiders bring fatal diseases, but their shipwrecks bring valuable iron. Violent rejection became their calibrated survival strategy. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, the Indian government sent guarded anthropological teams to leave gifts on the beaches, like live pigs. The tribe didn't eat them. They shot the pigs and buried them in the sand. Those same expeditions recorded a healthy population. From offshore observations, the Sentinelese showed no signs of malnutrition or obesity. They live entirely off the island, hunting wild boar and gathering, maintaining a population that doesn't strip the forest canopy or deplete the surrounding reefs. In 1991, an expedition led by Indian anthropologist Madhumala Chattopadhyay approached the island without weapons. For the first and only time, the Sentinelese waded into the water and accepted coconuts directly from the researchers' hands. However, during visits shortly after, the men were back on the beaches with their bows drawn, ready to fire at the returning boats. Whatever caused that brief window of peace, it closed as quickly as it opened. On every visit since, the hostility has remained. They had sampled peaceful contact, and yet the bows were back. Today, the Indian government enforces a strict 5-kilometer exclusion zone around the island, patrolled by the Coast Guard. It is an eyes-on, hands-off policy. This raises a difficult ethical question. Why shouldn't modern society intervene with medicine and technology? The answer lies with their neighbors. When the Indian government successfully established friendly contact with the nearby Jarawa tribe, the introduction of processed foods led to widespread obesity. Without the cultural context to navigate modern substances, the Jarawa were introduced to alcohol and tobacco, triggering cycles of addiction within the community. In the 1800s, the Great Andamanese population was estimated at 5,000. Today, only 41 remain. Compare that to the North Sentinelese. Their population estimate of 50 to 500 remains steady over the exact same period. While neighboring tribes integrated and collapsed, the Sentinelese remain. They have successfully maintained their borders against the most expansionist civilization in human history.